Should jiu-jitsu and wrestling athletes lift heavy? Yes, they freaking should lift heavy, and here's why. What's going on, guys? My name is Josh Settlage. I am the BJJ strength coach, and I'm here to talk to you guys today about why jiu-jitsu and wrestling athletes should be lifting heavy. But before we dive into it, I want to invite you guys to download my free shoulder pain relief series. If you're a jiu-jitsu athlete, if you're a wrestling athlete, guys, I feel you. I feel your pain. My shoulders have been banged up plenty of times. I've had my fair share of injuries, specifically shoulder injuries, that have taken me out of competition and prevented me from performing at my best. And so I compiled this free guide to help you assess your shoulder range of motion and your shoulder limitations, provide you with several different mobilizations and stretches that you can do to help decrease pain in your shoulders, as well as a couple strengthening exercises that you can add into your warm-ups, add into your workout, so that you can strengthen and bulletproof your shoulders so that you can perform your best on the mat. It's 100% free. There's no strings attached or anything. If you're interested in that, just click the link below and you'll be able to download it for free. So let's go ahead and get into it. Should grappling athletes, specifically jiu-jitsu and wrestling athletes, should they lift heavy? Yes, you absolutely should. What does heavy mean? Well, it's all relative, right? So there's a couple different things we need to break down about lifting heavy. But before we do, we should just clear the air and say that no one ever lost a jiu-jitsu match because they were too strong. Nobody ever lost a wrestling match because they were too strong. Nobody ever got injured because they were too strong. So that's a common misconception, right? People think that like, oh, this guy's super big, he's super strong, and he's just too strong for his own good, and that's why he lost. That's not true. That never happens. I've been involved in grappling sports for at least a decade now. I've never seen anybody lose because they were too strong or get injured because they were too strong. Not strong enough? Yes, people definitely get injured because they're weak and they're not strong enough. They lose because they're not conditioned enough? Absolutely. You bet your bippies that yes, they lose because they're not conditioned enough. I've seen that plenty of times. So just wanted to clear the air. You'll never lose a match because you're too strong, and you'll never get injured because you're too strong. So now we need to dissect why you need to be as strong as possible as a jiu-jitsu athlete. As a jiu-jitsu athlete or a wrestling athlete, both of those two sports are based off of controlling your opponent. Now, there are multiple things that go into your ability to control your opponent. Height and weight, the amount of strength you naturally have, limb length, your skill level, your ability to enforce your specific techniques that work better than your opponent's techniques. All of those things, the underlying foundation of almost all of those, maybe not the height and the weight, like that's just what you're born with, but your ability to enforce your techniques, your ability to control your opponent and push them or pull them into positions that are going to be favorable to you, you're going to need strength for all of those things. And if you're not strong, you can only rely on perfect technique for so long, because you're going to come across another opponent who has perfect technique and is jacked and is strong, and they're going to beat the brakes off of you. That's just the facts. So to get stronger, should grappling athletes lift heavy? I think they should. In my experience as a strength coach, specifically for wrestlers and jiu-jitsu athletes, I have never had an athlete get worse at jiu-jitsu or wrestling by getting stronger. Every single one of them got better. And one of the ways we were able to help increase their level of strength is by teaching them to safely lift heavy. Now, heavy is such a broad term. Heavy does not just mean an eyeball popping, gut busting, shart your pants, 1 rep max. It can mean that, and I've seen it happen before, but it could also mean a decently heavy set of a good working weight of anywhere from 6 to 8 reps for 3 to 5 sets. Heavy is a relative term. And when we look at the goal of jiu-jitsu athletes, and kind of depending on the athlete, okay, this athlete just wants to get stronger, this athlete is moving up in a weight class, so not only do we need to get stronger, but we also need to get bigger. You're gonna lift heavy in a variety of ways, and it's gonna depend on kind of what the ultimate training goal is. And some things that we need to look at are kind of the 3 key principles to any sort of athletic training, whether it's for jiu-jitsu, whether it's for wrestling, whether it's strictly for powerlifting or strength training. What we need to look at is intensity, volume, and frequency. So let's start off with intensity. Intensity basically means how close are you getting to your 1 rep max on any particular lift, or how close are you to completely maxing out and giving a maximum effort in a particular exercise. A 1 rep max is very intense. It is very heavy. It's very fatiguing on your central nervous system. The stronger you get, the more fatiguing, the more damage a 1 rep max is gonna do. You look at some of the strongest people on earth, they really don't take 1 rep maxes until it's time to compete, because if they kept taking 1 rep maxes every week, they would just destroy themselves. You look at some people who aren't that strong at all, a 1 rep max really doesn't do much for them because they're not even that strong to make much progress off of doing 1 rep. Basically, intensity just correlates to how close are you getting to your 1 rep max or an all-out maximum effort, level 10 effort on a particular exercise. Volume is the second thing we need to discuss, and that's defined as how much did you do in a particular training session or training week. So, you know, you could look at volume by the sets times the reps, or you can even add, you know, what's called volume and workload. So sets, reps, the weight that you used. There's a variety of ways to calculate volume, but volume essentially, if you do 3 sets in one workout and 5 sets in the next workout, the workout with 5 sets had more training volume than the workout with just 3 sets. That's another thing we need to look at. And then the third thing we need to look at is frequency. How often are you doing these workouts, or how often are you training at these particular intensities and putting yourself in this much volume, or putting in this much volume of training in a particular week? Is it once a week? Is it twice a week? Is it 6 times a week? Is it 3 times a week on weeks A and weeks B, but on weeks C and D, you only do 2 times a week? Frequency is essentially how often you do these workouts. Now, when it comes to should grappling athletes lift heavy? Yes, they absolutely should, but you should not lift so heavy, so frequently, and at such a high volume that it's gonna negatively impact your wrestling or jiu-jitsu training. Here's the thing, it's great if you are slinging tons and tons and tons of reps, bunch of heavy triples at 85, 90% of your 1 rep max. Hey, that's awesome. But if that leaves you so banged up and fatigued that you can't really train well on the mat later in the day or even the next day, how productive was that training session? And then on the contrary, how productive is it if you are getting in lots of frequency, you're doing, you know, a workout, maybe sometimes 2 weight training workouts every single day, but they're not even that heavy. You're only lifting like 10, 20% of your 1 rep max, and your body's thinking like, this is cake. We don't have to make any adaptations to this, dog, because this is easy. So there is a balance between intensity, volume, and frequency that you need to achieve to get the best results on the mat. According to the NSCA, if you're training for hypertrophy, which is trying to build a bigger muscle, your training intensity is gonna stay within the 50 to 75% of your 1 rep max range. Your volume is gonna be anywhere from 3 to 6 sets per exercise per workout, usually 3 to 4 exercises per workout. And the reps that you're gonna do are gonna be 8 to 20 reps. And that's gonna be what you're gonna do for hypertrophy, to build bigger muscles. And if your goal is to increase overall strength, you don't necessarily wanna get bigger and pack on a bunch of size, you just wanna get stronger. The recommendations from the NSCA for intensity are gonna be 80 to about 95% of your 1 rep max, with a training volume of 2 to 6 sets per exercise. Again, about 3 to 4 exercises per workout, and you're gonna do 2 to 6 reps per set. Now, if the goal is to increase your overall strength and power, this is where things get a little squirrely, because there is definitely a very wide range of training intensities that you could work with when it comes to getting more explosive, increase in power, and continuing to increase your overall strength. To increase strength and power, it's a wide range of intensities, 30 to 95% of your 1 rep max. We can dig into that in another video on how to specifically program power exercises versus strength exercises, strength speed versus speed strength, and all that stuff. That's a different video for a different time. Just know that if you're focusing on strength and power and explosiveness, your training intensity is gonna be 30 to 95% of your 1 rep max. That being said, your training volume is actually gonna be pretty low. It's gonna be 2 to 5 sets of 2 to 5 reps per exercise. And sometimes, especially when you're doing stuff that's really explosive, you may not even need 4 or 5 exercises. You can get away with sometimes 1 exercise or even just cap it at 3, depending on where you are in your season. But again, we'll go over that in a different video. So with all that in mind, what am I really saying here? Should grappling athletes train heavy? Yeah, you absolutely should. But you do need to manage your intensity. You do need to manage your overall training volume. You need to manage your frequency. Right now, I train about 6 days a week. I am not doing that much jiu-jitsu at the moment, so I can actually handle training pretty frequently, almost every day. However, not every day is very intense. I have 2 days that are very intense, where I am almost working up to 1 rep max. Not quite, but I am staying within that 80 to 95% range of my 1 rep max on 2 of those training days. On a 3rd training day, I bring down the intensity quite a bit. I'm sticking with the 60 to around 80% of my 1 rep max intensity, depending on the exercise. The training volume has increased a little bit. I'm doing anywhere from 4 to 6 sets of each exercise, and the reps tend to fall into a pretty big range. Some sets I'm doing only 4 to 6 reps on a given exercise. Other sets I may bump it up a little bit and do 10 to 15, and then maybe at the end I'll do a little bit of some very light accessory work from anywhere from 20 to 50 reps per set. All in all, it depends. It depends on how often you're training on the mat, how hard you're going at wrestling or jiu-jitsu practice. Depending on how strong you are, you may need to consider that you're getting to a point where the amount of weight that you're lifting to stay within that 80 to 95% range is very, very taxing, and it's negatively impacting your jiu-jitsu training. On the other hand, you may be a wrestler that isn't that strong and you need to get stronger. So sticking with that 80 to 95% range, it's actually not that heavy yet. You're gonna get stronger, you're gonna get better, but you can actually recover a lot faster from that. So again, it all depends. You need to test and retest, find out what works best for you. I'm gonna be coming out with a video soon that breaks down my condensed conjugate training model. It's the same training model that I use for myself, the same training model that I use with all my guys in the AM crew. We've been seeing some absolutely ridiculous strength gains and some ridiculous conditioning gains. These guys are getting way stronger, they're not getting injured, and their conditioning they got conditioning for days. They're like the Diaz brothers. They're cardio bunnies who are also jacked and tan, which is like the best of both worlds. So please stay tuned for that video coming out soon. If you guys are interested in my free shoulder pain relief series, all you gotta do is just click the link below this video. It's 100% free, no strings attached. As a grappling athlete, I get it, our shoulders get banged up, so it's my gift to you guys, help you enhance your overall grappling performance, helping you decrease pain so that you can win more matches and get injured less. My name is Josh Selledge, I'm the BJJ strength coach, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.